leaders. Welcome to Control-Alt-Delete with Lisa Duerre Live. I'm Lisa Duerre, your guide through the ever-evolving landscape of leadership and tech. We're breaking down barriers and bringing our community together in real time. So whether you're tuning in from the comfort of your office chair or catching the replay later, please know that your voice matters. Speaking of voices, that's what firm leadership is all about. Listening, inviting wisdom, and embracing the collective intelligence of our teams. Because let's face it, no one leader has all the answers, and that's where you come in. As we dive into today's discussion, please be an active participant. Drop your thoughts, questions, and insights into the comments below. This isn't just my podcast, it's ours. Together, we're rebooting Leadership Drive. And before we kick things off, I'd like to mention that this podcast and live stream experience is brought to you by RLD Group. As your host and the CEO of RLD Group, I'm grateful for the opportunity to collaborate and bring in this podcast to life. Together, we're committed to empowering organizations, teams, and leaders like you, and your engagement in this conversation is invaluable. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation, get comfy, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's make some magic happen.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Control-Alt-Delete with Lisa Duerre. Clearly, I'm not Lisa Duerre today. Lisa's off hosting a 3-day conference, and so she's asked me to step in, and I am so excited to be here. This season on Control-Alt-Delete, it's been all about firm leadership, flexibility, intuition, resilience, and mindfulness. And today we're going to be talking about team dynamics with regards to intuition. So I'd love to bring up my guest, Alicia Couri, and she is the CEO of Audacious Concepts. So if you can bring up Alicia, I'd greatly appreciate that. Hey, let's see, I can't hear you right now.
I muted myself. Hello.
Hello.
I'm here.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for joining me today. I'm so excited for this conversation. But before we get started, I really want you to tell our audience, what do you do and who do you serve?
Thank you very much, Gabes. I am the founder and CEO of Audacious Concepts, Inc. We're a boutique consulting firm, and we specialize in not just helping leaders and teams work better together, but we also help them perfect their hiring process so they get it right predictably every time. So that's who I am. That's what we do.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, Alicia does a assessment called the Kolbe, and she's actually the person that will do the debrief with clients that I've worked with. So I have had the privilege, I've learned so much from Alicia, not only about my clients, but also about myself. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with her. And so as we dive into team dynamics, and really it's talking about taking people from intuition to action. I was reading a stat the other day as I was preparing for this podcast, and according to Korn Ferry, 81% of executive teams believe that intuition plays a significant role in their decision-making process. Yet only 37% of those decisions are systematically followed through with action. And Alicia, I would love to hear your thoughts about that.
That is so amazing because there's such a difference between intuition and instinct. And so you're saying 81% believe that intuition is paramount to making decisions, but only, you said 37% actually take action. So what you mentioned, Kolbe, and Kolbe, for those who have never heard of this before, Kolbe, is a cognitive assessment. There are 3 parts of our mind. There's the cognitive, the affective, and the conative within our brain. Sorry, not mind, brain. There's a difference. Within our brain, the conative is really the doing mind. It's how we take action and problem solve. It's how we're instinctively wired to do things. And so intuition comes in from, people would say their higher self or a higher power, or they just have this innate feeling about something. And so they don't actually put it into action Because sometimes they don't understand that cognitive part of themselves. They don't understand how they were wired to take that action. So they may freeze thinking, oh no, I don't know what to do. Do I, how do I do this? I think I know, but I don't know. And in that moment, that's where they lose that decision, that quick decision-making capability, because they don't understand how they're instinctively wired to take that action based on that instinct. I mean,
Mhm.
based on that intuition. Sorry.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's so fascinating because when I think to what, as I've heard you talk to clients and really talking about that cognitive area, I mean, I learn something every time, even about myself. But one of the things I was thinking about is just the self-awareness and how that plays into teams and how they act on their own intuition. And so, how can leaders foster that not only in themselves, but also with their teams?
You're absolutely right. Self-awareness. This is a subconscious part of the mind. This is something that we kind of have an idea about how we do things. Like if you look at someone and they're very, very organized, they know that they're organized, but they don't
Mhm.
understand that the way that they organize, not every brain works that way. Not everybody is
Mhm.
wired in the same way to organize the way that they are. So we know these things about ourselves, but we really don't understand where it comes from or how powerful it is. And so my way of organization is not someone else's way of organization.
Yeah.
Non-organization, but it is, however, a form of organization. And I'm just
Mhm.
picking the way you organize as something very tangible that people can understand. So if I said that my way of organization is file by pile. Like I have a pile here, I have a pile there, I have a pile there. And I kind of know what's in every pile.
I'm looking
You know,
around my office right now.
I kind of know what's in every pile, but I don't know exactly.
Mhm.
And there are some people who have systems for how they organize, and everything is neat and has a place. And so we have to make room for the way everybody organizes differently.
Mhm.
So some people may think, as if they file by pile, that they're disorganized, because that's the way someone will say, well, you're just disorganized. And there's judgment on that.
Mhm.
So you will not move on your intuition because you might think, well, I need to be more organized to do this, and not move on your intuition for adaptability and for change and for how can we maneuver through this.
Mhm.
And that's what Kolbe, that cognitive part of your mind, really helps you understand what it is and how powerful it is and how to engage it as a benefit for you moving forward. So
Mhm.
that's how leaders can help themselves and help their teams, by understanding this cognitive piece and knowing how to put people in positions that they're naturally subconsciously committed to doing certain things in a particular way, so that if you put them in that role, if you put them to solve a problem that way, it'll get done faster, more efficient. The person will have more joy doing it because it aligns with their natural way of doing things anyway, that they're not even aware of.
Mhm.
And so their teams can be so much more productive when you understand, instead of it being, well, yeah, I kind of know I'm organized. It helps you drill it down and really understand how that organization is powerful and how to utilize it in the most effective way, so that when you
Mhm.
you are inspired by your intuition, you can take action.
Yeah. It's interesting because, as I think I'm a strengths coach, and so we talk a lot about strengths, especially the clients of our LD group. Many times in their engagements, they're getting strengths and they're getting Colby to show them their strengths, and then also that piece you're talking about, which is their natural instinct. I'm really curious. Can you talk a little bit about the different, like in the strengths you have the 34 themes and stuff, but I know in Colby it's broken down into more of these, what do
Or
you call them?
action modes. Yes.
Yeah, can you talk about those? Because I actually think those are so interesting, and when we think about team dynamics, how those play into, as you were talking about, hiring your teams, what kind of projects you're, going to assign people to.
Absolutely. And so I alluded earlier to the three different parts of the brain. And within those parts, there are different types of we take. So if you look at your cognitive mind, your cognitive brain, there are things like math quizzes. There are things like cognitive assessments, that the IQ tests, things like that. And then within the affect, that's your feeling brain. That's your emotional brain. There are certain types of assessments like a DISC or a Myers-Briggs or strengths. And I think strengths may have a little cognitive, there might be a little bit of crossover there. And then predictive index. There are different types of assessments that are affective, that measure our personality, our likes, our dislikes, how we are sort of I want to say affectively in the world, but how we are,
being in the world,
a personality type in the world, how we get along with others, in other words. And then there's that cognitive, and Kolbe is the only true 100% cognitive assessment. There may be some cognitive in a cognitive assessment. There may be some cognitive in an affective assessment, but Kolbe is the only true cognitive assessment. And what we're measuring is 4 action modes. We're measuring the fact finder. That's how you gather and share information. We're measuring that follow through, which is about systems and organizations, how you process. Then there's the quick start. It's how you deal with risk and uncertainty. And then the implementer, and this is always a confusing one for people because it's an implementor, not an implementer. So implementor, meaning we're dealing with space, tangible implementation tools. So we're looking at our physical surroundings. How do we act within our physical space? And it's measured on a continuum from 1 to 10. And we have 3 different zones. So when we look at the 3 zones, you have 12 strengths within those zones. And the first zone, 1 to 3, the measurement 1 to 3, that is a reacting zone. So earlier when I was talking about being this organized person, that's in follow through. If you're in that react zone, people may look at you and think that you're disorganized. Why can't you keep your desk neat? Why do you always have piles of stuff all around, right? They may judge that as disorganization. People within the mid zone, which is that accommodating zone, they counteract. So they are there to kind of respond to whether someone's reacting or someone's initiating. And then that's from 4 to 6. And then from 7 to 10 is that initiating zone. That's where they start their problem solving. Now, every person within those 4 action modes that I talked about, the fact finder, the follow through, the quick start, and the implementer, have one number within 1 to 10. And that's kind of where you live. That's where you are. And you don't shift around, you don't change around, you're not a 10 one day and a 3 the next day. This is who you are, right?
Yeah.
If you're a 3, you're a 3. If you're an 8, you're an 8. For the most part, there's very little movement between those numbers, and very rarely do people jump zones. And so when we're looking at initiating strengths, those are people who have to jump into action within those action modes, within whichever action mode they have that initiates from. And going back to that follow through example, someone who is a 7 to 10 in follow through, that would be the person that their brain sees everything in a process and a system. And they have systems, and they're very linear, and they're very structured in the way that their brain processes things. Someone who's a 1 to 3, they don't have that same type of structure. So when you're working in teams and you have someone who is very structured and they are requiring you to fit into that same structure mold, you're going to be very unhappy. There's going to be a lot of tension. There's going to be a lot of conflict within those two individuals, because one is trying to get the other to do something that their brain just isn't wired to do in that specific way. So that's where we can have team conflict. We can have tension between within the team, and we can also have strain within an individual's brain trying so hard to fit into a box that they were never meant to fit into. So when you understand this about your brain, then you're able to actually adapt the work that you're doing to the way your brain actually operates and find more success.
That's so fascinating, because where I went to when you were talking about that, I was just recently talking to someone about their boss. They see their boss as being a micromanager, because the boss is very much a process person, very much about process systems, following things, and they are not. In fact, I would even, and I'm not a Kolbe expert, only from what Alicia, me experiencing her doing this with my client, I suspect this person is a quick start, and there's a lot of tension. So that's really where my brain went to. And really knowing this, it sounds to me like that if teams knew this about each other, leaders knew this about the people on their team, that the energy that goes into that conflict that happens, right? Because I feel like there's some energy management there around how you're spending time trying to be, the square peg, in the round hole.
It's incredibly draining for the individual trying to do that, because we have 100 ergs of energy every day in our brain to operate. And if my brain has only 15% of those ergs dedicated to follow through, then, and I'm only picking on follow through. This is for any one of these action modes. I'm just, I have nothing against any one of the action modes, but if I only have 15% of that energetic erg to do follow through work, and half my day is spent trying to do that, that's burning me out. That's actually burning my brain out in that day. It's rapidly burning out that energy. And I really don't have it to spend anywhere else. I look at it as like poker chips. So like if I had 4 poker chips and you're requiring me to do work that is 8 poker chips, where do I get the other 4 poker chips? Where do I get it? It's burning. Yeah, I need a nap. Exactly. You don't have it to give. And so you're now putting yourself in a depleted state to try to do this. And you do this day after day after day. And there are actually brain scans of people who are in those types of roles that day after day after day, they're doing it, and they're showing their brains like lit up like a Christmas tree. It's red, even after resting from doing that kind of work. And the brain pattern is very erratic, because they're trying so hard to bend their brain to do something that it wasn't naturally aligned to doing. And I'm not saying that we can't do these things. Please hear me. I'm not saying that. So I'm a 3 in Fact Finder. I'm not saying that I cannot sit and read a book. I can't sit and read a novel. I can't. It all is based on, number 1, motivation. And number 2, how long am I sitting in this doing it? See, if I'm reading a book, I have a choice. I can read a book until I don't feel like it anymore. And then my affect, and then I can put it away. But if my boss is requiring me to do this work every single day, and it's not in alignment with me, like if I had to be a paralegal with a 3 in fact finding, and I had to do research every single day, I would soon quit, because it's not aligned. I would be exhausted halfway through the day. I'd want a nap. And people take Red Bull and sugar and all kinds of things to keep them going, instead of really diagnosing, well, why every single day am I exhausted by doing this mental work? Now, there are other factors, of course, environmental factors. Maybe you didn't sleep the night before, or there are other stresses that could be impacting that. But I'm just talking strictly about how you process things in your brain. If you're doing it day after day after day, and your brain isn't aligned to that type of work cognitively, then you can face burnout pretty quickly.
Mhm.
That's why we
And
use this for hiring, validating people for hiring, because we want to know before they actually get into the job that they can do the job.
mhm. Yeah, it's, what is it predictive index? Is that the other one?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've done that one, and that's been very interesting having that insight. And I think what's coming to me is, and I'm just thinking about my own experience as a leader, recognize I'm having that moment like, ooh, that wasn't a very good project for that person. No wonder, we were struggling through it. And then
Yes.
also too, having that own experience of how do I spend my day and what's the energy that it takes for I actually am a 6 on the fact finder, and my quick start then kicks in. So it's fascinating. And the people that I've been coaching on behalf of RLD group, a lot of them, and I think you're seeing that, Alicia, a lot of them are fact finders. And
Yes.
so,
They're very long fact finders. And I was just about to say something else on Teams that happens a lot is cloning, where you
mm,
have a lot of the same type of cognitive energy on a team. And so if you have a team that is in charge of innovation, and there are a lot of long line fact finders on that team,
mhm,
then they will be all into the research. They will be digging into the research, going down rabbit holes, and nobody's actually pushing to change. They're not
mhm,
pushing to disrupt. They're not pushing for innovate. Like, how do we shift this? How do we innovate this? How do we bring this to market quickly? Because quick start is all about that change and risk, and pushing the envelope and innovating and
mhm,
that sort of thing. And if you have nobody on a team that's meant to innovate, that actually has that type of energy, then you'll find yourselves running over deadlines, not bringing really changed products or really innovative. I keep using the word innovate. I'm trying to find a different word, but
no, it's a
trying
good
to,
word. It's a good word.
right. And you'll find that happening on your team too. And you're wondering, well, we're all smart people. Why can't we do this? You're brilliant
Mhm,
people, just that your brains are wired towards getting more and more information, getting more depth of information, investigating more. Well, how about this? Why can't we do this? Let's try, and it's not actually in the trying and failing and trying and failing of it.
mhm. So, what do you think is in your expertise? What are some things when clients are really high in the fact finder, things they can do to allow themselves that space to experiment, to move past it? Because it's almost like analysis paralysis could happen.
Mhm.
And so I'm just kind of curious if you have any tips or anything that can help them.
Absolutely. That's why you got me. Absolutely. Couple things. First of all, it's recognizing that you are a fact finder, learning
Mhm,
that you are a fact finder. Because when
mhm,
you know that, okay, this is what my brain is naturally inclined to do, then you can give yourself different benchmarks to say, okay, I'm only going to spend 20 minutes doing this, and then I need to move on to something else. Or things like, maybe I don't need all the answers before I move forward. How about we do 50% of the information I think I need, which is probably
mhm.
100% of what I need, right? But 50% of the information that I need, and let's take action on that, and then I'll dig into it a little bit more, and let's take
That's a
action
good
on it.
one.
You can give yourself those types of rules. And then
Mhm,
the other thing that you can do is you have other parts of your mind. You have your cognitive and you have your affect. How about moving in motivation or moving in some other affective part of your mind into um, like results driven, which is again,
mhm,
we look at the Clifton strengths. Like, what are your
mhm,
strengths in those areas? Maybe you have responsibility as one of your top 5 strengths. So you might want to dig into the details, but then your responsibility to meet the deadline might kick in and allow that affect, that responsibility piece to come forward and say, okay, now we need to continue moving forward. So
Mm-hmm.
what your other strengths are in your affect that you can pull in to help keep things moving and don't get stuck in the research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting because we talk about in the strengths your blind spots, and oftentimes your strengths, your strengths have blind spots, and and they're over here, and sometimes you don't even see them. So having others around you, because so then we're bringing in the trust, right? The dynamics of trust on a team,
Correct.
and how those people as well around you can help you move through it. Because I'm thinking about, I had someone who worked for me who was really big fact finder, and would get stuck, like would
Mhm.
go into the almost this freeze mode, and then helping this individual, like, okay, you have all the information, you're good. Now we just need to take action. And so being that person, and so I'd love to get your thoughts about how the building of trust. Is there things that, especially if you're different, like if you're a quick start and I'm a fact finder, I could see where we could potentially
Especially if you're
butt heads, if
resistant
you
in
will.
quick start, right? You're
Yes,
counteracting quick start and you're a long fact finder. You're an initiating
yes,
fact finder. Yes, there
yeah.
could be some challenges between that. And I did want to mention communication
Mm-hmm.
because as you're asking that question, a lot of times there's an undercurrent of communication with this cognitive piece where
Mm-hmm.
it as affect, it presents itself as, well, you don't like me, or you're just trying to micromanage me, or something like that, when they don't understand this person actually has some cognitive needs that aren't being met. So as we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about trust, understanding what each other's cognitive needs are, and you mentioned predictive index too, that helps us understand needs, drives, and behaviors. So when you
Mm-hmm.
understand what that person needs in order to feel heard, feel safe, um, and perform at their best, then as a leader, you can help give them the tools that they need to feel that safety,
Mm-hmm.
because now you understand, okay, maybe I need, as a leader, I need a lot of information. They don't necessarily need a lot of that information. So
Mm-hmm.
what they give me, I will, I will take that and allow them to take action on it and not see failure. Because again, someone a long line quick start sees testing as part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
They see failure as part of the process. Like, I need to experiment with this. I need to do these things to make sure that it's working. And so instead of me as a fact finder saying, no, 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 that's not working, don't do it, getting all like that, allow them the time to do that. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
the other way around, allow the fact finder the time to get the research they need to then take action. So
Oh, that's
that's
that's so
kind of,
good. That's so good. I wish I would have known this before. I'm having having flashbacks to previous experiences. And I know that we're almost at time. And so, Alicia, I know part of the tradition of Control Alt Delete with Lisa Duerre is she loves to ask guests, does a song come to mind that can help the listeners, remember this conversation and the insights that you've given us?
it's so funny. You know what just came into my mind? That song, Relax, Don't Do It. I don't want to go through it.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Yes,
Yeah.
relax, relax, relax. Understand your cognitive mind and just relax, because when you get
Mhm.
that part right, a lot of other things work right for you. Can I
Yeah.
just mention I'm having a executive forum, if anybody wants to know, around this stuff and hiring next month. So if they want to know more, just reach out to me.
Awesome. Connect with Alicia. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being on here with me today. As always, I always learn so much from you, and just a tremendous amount of gratitude for the work that you do. So thank you.
Thank you, Gabes. I'm so excited. Thank you, Gabes. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Randy, for inviting me to be a part of this. I love you guys.
Yeah, we love you too. So, LinkedIn community, thanks for stopping by. And we hope that if you would like to continue to join the conversation, please add your comments to the LinkedIn. If you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere, we'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you, Lisa Duerre, and we will see you next time.
It's a wrap, folks. Whether you're here with us live for the reboot or caught the replay to upgrade your leadership drive, I want to say a big thank you for being a part of this experience. Your input and energy are what keep us going strong. But hold on tight, this isn't where the journey ends. Let's keep the momentum going by sharing your thoughts in the comments, spreading the word on social media, or dropping me a message. I'm all ears and ready to connect. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button or ring the bell so you don't miss our next episode. If today sparked something for you, your likes and comments mean the world. They help us reach more leaders like yourself and prevent burnout. Together, we're not just leaders, we're firm leaders, upgrading our drive and rebooting our leadership game one episode at a time. Oh, and one more thing. If you're interested in bringing this valuable discussion to your teams or organization, RLD Group is here to lend a hand. Reach out via LinkedIn or email hello@rldgroupllc.com. We'd love to chat. Until next time, this is Lisa Duerre signing off with a virtual high five and or a virtual fist bump, whatever you choose. Make it a great day, everyone.